From Martine Studios in New York, your trending topic TV show. This is Talking Heads with Nizam.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Talking Heads. I'm your host, Nizam. I want to introduce my distinguished panel. We're going to get right into things. To my left, we have Megan Collins. Give him a little wave. And Ralph Kearns, a.k.a. Butters, hanging out with us today. We're going to get right into it. We have a segment called What Are You Watching? So, Megan, we'll start with you. What are you watching right now?
Goodness, I have to say I don't watch a ton of TV.
Okay.
When I do, I have to admit it's kind of like that guilty pleasure female stuff, like Housewives or stuff like that. I will say the one show I'm a diehard fan of, and I know you agree with me on this, probably Ralph too, The Walking Dead, which finished just a couple weeks past. The finale aired.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. I'm really heavy into that. And that's pretty out of character for me because I don't like gore just for the sake of gore and like the whole apocalypse and doom and gloom. Like I just feel like there's so much of that out there these days, but I was introduced to the show and really surprised, just very impressed. There's like a lot of character development and they just find themselves in these interesting predicaments that kind of really test the human character. I don't know. It's almost like a piece of literature. Like it's really cool and it gets you thinking. So
well, it is from a book, so.
The comics, right, yep.
But I wasn't watching it, and same thing for me. Like I'm not really into horror, right. But I guess it's not really horror. It's suspense. I don't know, but I started watching it on Netflix, and just binge watched it, and and I like got caught up, and
Netflix
I'm like, yo, let's go.
Yeah, Netflix is like the binge watch of all time. It's like a lot of shows I'm catching up on because of Netflix.
Like what? What are you watching?
Well, I got caught up on The Walking Dead. Like I don't know, I'm like years late, but on Boardwalk Empire and all that stuff.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I've never seen any of that stuff, and so now I'm like at home like all day just like watching and catching up. But then I'm also like I love The Voice. Like The Voice is like I could watch it like all day long.
What do you like about The Voice that differentiates it from like the Factor and X Factor and American Idol?
Well, X Factor is probably one of my least favorite technically, but the Voice is better because one, the blind audition separates it all the way totally. Like you could be the most hideous person in the world and just have a beautiful instrument or have a beautiful talent, and you get picked. So now you get an opportunity for people to kind of get to know you and kind of it builds confidence in yourself, one, and America gets to know you and like know you for who you are, and it's breaking down barriers and stereotypes, because like American Idol, I like it, but it's like after a while it's just really about the look and the personality way more than the singing.
What about your one girl? There's always an exception. What I forget her name, but I want to say she was English, older lady, or maybe she wasn't older. She just looked older, but she wasn't.
She's on it now?
No. This is a while ago. I forget. Susan something.
The Susan lady from America. She was on X Factor, right?
Yeah, I think it was X Factor.
Yeah, she Boyle.
Susan Boyle. Yeah, she wasn't a looker.
No, but that's the whole thing. Like people like stories, but her voice was powerful. Yeah. And then by the time you got to it, it was like, yo, this lady is like overcoming this and that, and it's like people identify. In America, cats. We want to identify with stories. We want to identify with like our shortcomings, and then we see somebody similar, we just jump on board, and that's why they vote, and that's why she goes through, and she's making a killing.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Wong dude. Remember the dude that sang that
song? I feel bad for that guy, man. It was like she banged, whatever he was singing. I was like, man, they were just. Hopefully, he made a lot of money because
he made a killing, but then
exploited him like a champ.
It was crazy.
Sure did.
Oh man,
it's crazy.
Yeah. All right, let's get started with our first topic. So, a few weeks ago, the NFL, they were reviewing all of their rules, and they wanted to update and change some of the things that they have going on. They decided that they wanted to put the N-word under fire in the NFL. Recently, they've I don't want to say they've changed their mind, but they've said that they are not going to make a specific rule for the N-word, but they are going to have umpires and officials they're going to urge them to take a little special consideration for that. Megan, how do you feel about the N-word in the NFL and how they're trying to handle this thing?
It's always a real controversial topic. I have to preface it by saying I support it. I think it's going to be difficult to police, and I think there's a fine line. There's a big gray area. As there is with a lot of things. I know a lot of people are comfortable with using the word, and like, you know, that's how they were raised, and I don't judge them or whatever. Like, personally, it's not something that I'm comfortable with. I just kind of feel like, you know, you have to always be mindful of your audience, and when you're operating as a player in the National Football League, you have a national audience at your disposal. There's a lot of people that word is just, it's a really sore topic. I mean, it has its roots in just a really terrible, dark period in our culture and society, and I don't see what's so wrong about kind of getting rid of the bad habit. Now, if you want to do it in the locker room, if you want to do it on the practice field, cool. I understand football is an aggressive game. Like, people get hyped. They don't necessarily, more often than not, they want to use it, for lack of a better description, as a term of endearment or whatever, not always as something to be offensive to another player. But I don't necessarily see anything wrong with, you know, trying to monitor that to a degree, if it's just like a really flagrant kind of out there thing that they're doing.
I think the reason they shot it down, the NFL shot it down, is because they wanted to try to police it not only on the playing field when you're playing a game, but they wanted to extend it to the locker
all
room.
NFL territory.
Yeah, like
that's a little much.
Anytime you're under kind of the NFL roof, they wanted to do that.
Right.
What do you think, Ralph?
My thing is okay. Do I agree that people should use it a lot less? You know, it shouldn't really be part of your vocabulary. I totally understand that. I get it. But how is the NFL, the league, going to police a word that's offensive to black people in particular? It's like the same thing. So now you're going to tell me what I can say. You're going to hold me down. You're going to hold, you know, control me in this manner. It's like, just to me, it's another way of controlling the black player under the NFL shield. You know, it's like, so I can't call you the N-word, but I can curse you out the whole game? What's the difference? If it's offensive, it's offensive. You can't police a word, because now you're just kind of, you know, technically the reason why it's offensive and all things are technically not you particularly, but, you know, white America in general, with the whole, you know, slavery and all that kind of stuff, whatever. Like, just, if you're going to police negative words, then police them all. I shouldn't be able to call you a MF. I got you no curse words, nothing offensive.
Right. I think what's his name?
Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman from the Seahawks. He kind of said that same thing.
Right.
And that's kind of the blanket that they're going with. You know, they're urging officials to throw penalties for profanities, and the N-word is in there, but anything. I think it's going to come down to the ref or the ump on the field, their discretion on what they're going to do with that.
I think it's a slippery slope.
It is. But now we have openly gay players in the NBA and the NFL, so that throws out a whole nother basket of slurs that can be thrown out, that may have been thrown out before, that weren't necessarily offensive because there was no openly gay people. You know, like, they may have heard it, but it was whatever because they weren't out.
Right.
But now, you know, that's a whole nother, you know, bucket of worms.
Yeah, I think those things tend to police themselves sometimes. You know, like, there's always a code and a line, like, whether it's, you know, all right, like, that's too far. Like, calm it down. You know, like, it's you know, it's just tough. You know, even like with the openly gay players, you know, it's like, it's almost, it's so broad. Like, to just be like, we make a rule and we're going to do this. It's impossible.
Right.
Because there's 45 other gray areas that would encompass that one thing. Now, how do you police all of that? You can't. You know, so I don't know. It's tough.
The word gay gets thrown around. You know, straight guys, you know, throw that out there. Oh, man, you gay, man. And it's almost a term of endearment.
Right.
It's that buddy, oh, your mama, you know, like.
Similar to like the B word for girls.
Exactly. Right. It's like, I say it, but you're my boy, you're my friend, you're my man. Man, don't do that. That's gay.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, now all of a sudden you can't say that when it wasn't really meant to offend anyone.
Right.
Same thing with the N-word. Oh, you my N-word, man. You know, people throw that out very socially and very friendly. Right. But now, you know, at least for the gay community, now there's a whole plethora of words that it's like, oh, can we say that? You know, LeBron got in trouble for saying retarded.
Right.
You know, we can't say retarded anymore.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like we go so far. Like, you know, at some point you have to be able to judge people's intent. You know, like retarded. Like, I have I have people that are, you know, mentally
Special
challenged,
needs, yep.
special needs. I have in my family, and you know, but that when growing up, they were called, you know,
They were
retarded.
called retarded, yeah.
And so it's like you can't, if you're not going to educate people into why we changed the vocabulary or why the word is different, then you can't just make it a rule, because it's like it's sometimes it's how people like
Communicate.
say, that's how they communicate. That's how it came up. So I'm not like, oh, you're a retard. It's like, no, it's like, oh, he's retarded. You know, we have to do this. Maybe I'm trying to explain to somebody why we have to help him differently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, you know, it's like we go so far in trying to be politically correct that we sometimes miss the whole purpose of being politically correct or
Right.
being sensitive to other people's needs. It's like,
Right.
you know, now it's just for show. See, we're doing this, so you know we're good. We're taking care of it. No, it's like help people understand and learn and help everybody grow. This way, you wouldn't have to make rules like that.
Right.
We're just doing better.
Right. Well, let's you go ahead. You had something else?
A little bit. Do you think they're more hard pressed to address this issue now because of the incident that happened last year with the white football player at the concert?
I think they're I think a lot of stuff is going on in the NFL where there and I know white people that throw it out, throw that N-word out there, and it's comfortable. It may be because of where they're from, how they grew up.
Their friends, whatever
Their
the case
friends,
may be, yeah.
you know, call them that and what. But it seems like, yeah, there's I mean the country music thing, like it wasn't a term of endearment. You know what I'm saying?
And
That's
that's
the
what I'm
thing.
saying.
And
Like
then
it was clearly not.
And then there's Richie Incognito down in Miami. You know, him and John Williams, they had, you know, multiple, not conversations, I guess text messages or, you know, but, you know, words are words. And I think there were some voicemails too, and they probably had some confrontations, I'm sure. But I think it's definitely a result of what's going on, because it's just, it's getting kind of loose. And
They don't want to just sit idly by and not, you know.
Yeah, because this day won't look good.
Yeah.
It just makes them not look good.
But let's keep on the NFL. The NFL and the NCAA, they're catching a lot of scrutiny right now with the nonprofit organization moniker that they have. Let's start with you, Ralph. How do you feel about these organizations being nonprofit?
It's tough. I mean, because clearly they're profiting. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, they are profiting from, you know, nonprofit status, but they're avoiding having to pay certain taxes, certain things. So it just increases their business bottom line. You know, it's like it's unfair, really. I can't be a nonprofit. I would have to go through so many different things, but you know, they're bringing in billions of dollars, and there's so many people benefiting from, you know, their business that, you know, I just think a lot of things get, you know, looked over. And then the NCAA is like, it's the biggest. I won't call it a criminal organization. But they're making a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
Off of these students. And like, you know, it's not fair. You know what I mean? Like, you know, these dudes are like, you know, they can't eat, you know,
Right.
You know, they can't have jobs like regular students technically, because they're practicing all day, they're in class all day. It's like,
They can't, according to, you know, if they're on contract, they can't.
They can't.
They cannot do it.
So it's like, it's craziness. It's like, it's just the biggest farce of all time.
Right.
It makes me mad, because it's so far from, it's clearly not nonprofit, and they're just benefiting so much. But then the people that should be benefiting at least some, you know, especially with the NCAA.
Yeah.
You know, at least with football, these dudes are making a living. There's people making money, but like the NCAA, I mean, look at the Final Four this year. They said it was like one of the most watched Final Fours of all time. And the dude Shabazz Napier from Connecticut was like, you know, we were out here, man. There was some night we go to bed hungry, because you know,
Right.
you don't have enough, and once you eat that little 6 o'clock meal or whatever, you know, that's it. That's crazy.
That's crazy. What do you think, Mike?
They just changed the ruling on that, something about that student athletes can like eat unlimited meals or something like that because of Shabazz. And
Oh, really?
that he made. Yeah, I just saw that yesterday.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how they come out with that, because it's tough. I mean, like, it's not. I don't think that they're being denied meals, but with your practice and your study hall and your classes and your travel,
It's a real tight schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it. Like, it boggles my mind. The real big time athletes, the people that are in the Final Four, or whatever. I'm like, how did they manage all that? I don't know.
It's impossible.
I know there's a team of people behind them, and they're all doing their thing together, but I think back to when I was in college, and I'm like, I couldn't have done all that.
Yeah, I went to a D1 school, and my roommate played baseball. Shout out to Nick Rhodes. What's up, man? You know, a lot of times, and I might get a phone call or something like, oh, hey, man, can you do this or do that, or what, scoop me up or whatever, you know, and he was always traveling. Come springtime, he was always traveling. I'm like, man. I'm like, wow, like how do you do it? But he did it, you know, and like you said, there's a support system there. But I think a lot of people, you know, people jump on Facebook and they're like attacking Shabazz, and they're like, you're a world-class athlete, or, you know, you're a top tier athlete in the collegiate world. You know, you could go anywhere and, you know, get a meal and stuff. But what they don't understand is that a lot of these athletes, with the Fab Five, Weber and Jalen and them, you know, just start naming athletes. The running back Reggie Bush,
right.
Like they're stripping titles and banners and stuff from these kids,
no doubt.
because they took money, because they didn't have money. Maybe they took a meal. Maybe they got a meal. Maybe some of them were not the best kids,
right.
and abused some of these things or whatever. But he can't just go to the local pizza shop and get a slice of pizza for free because he is who he is.
No, it doesn't work like that.
In 5 years, when he's in the NBA,
Yep.
someone's going to say,
Take it out.
oh, Shabazz Napier used to go to Daddy Green's Pizza once a week, twice a week, every night, and he used to get food, so we're going to take down their banner. You know, and that hurts the program, that hurts the coach. Kevin Ollie was catching a lot of slack when he came in after Calhoun, and with this huge dynasty of UConn. And I mean, that just hurts everyone. I mean, look at Penn State. They killed that man.
Unbelievable.
You know, like he basically, they broke his heart and he passed.
Right.
Because of the scrutiny that he got, at least in part, I believe in part, you know. Joe Pa passed away just due to the
Sandusky.
The Sandusky thing.
Yeah.
You know, when you come in and you just try to destroy these programs, and you know, with the Sandusky thing, that's Sandusky.
Right.
That doesn't have anything to do with
Right.
the kids. You know, Joe Pa reported it to, you know, that's another story. But when they come in years later,
and they're still being punished for that stuff.
And they're being punished for this stuff, you know, like that's why he's missing meals. And I think I think a lot of people miss the point of him saying that, and miss the point of maybe you didn't go to a D1 school, maybe you didn't play organized sports. I mean, I remember when I would come home in high school. You know, you go to high school, you maybe you have a late practice, you don't get home until 8 or 9.
Right.
Maybe mom ordered takeout. And there's nothing left.
Right.
Oh, there's some peanut butter and jelly. There's some, you know,
right.
Maybe that's more so choice. But even back then, there was times where it's like, oh man, it's 8, 9, 10 o'clock. I'm just gonna go to bed. Like, I don't feel like, if there's nothing sitting here, you know, I don't feel like making anything.
Right.
But I think a lot of people missed the boat on that and want to criticize the
because they think they think that being a college athlete is all privilege. Oh, you're on TV, you're not making any income from that. You're not, you know, so people know you, but then people think, they forget that you're in college, and you're like, oh, well, you know, you're a star, see you on TV all the time. There's no way you're struggling. All you see me is on a basketball court. You don't see, and like, even like with all the traveling, the flying, the schedule is impossible. It's impossible, and it's like, it's so unfair.
It's always a lot easier to criticize from the outside when you really don't know, like, the inner workings of what's going on. They have a tremendous amount of pressure and responsibility to represent themselves and the schedule that they're on and the way in which they're regulated. There's a lot going on, so I give them credit. It's tough to be in the spotlight.
Definitely.
And the thing now is, you know, the defense on you know, these kids, and they're getting a free education. And the thing now is, these educations, these degrees that they're getting, are not even close to getting them any sort of job.
No doubt.
When they get into the real world. They have a PA in gym, or, you know, I think it was like a 30 for 30 I was watching, and they were saying, you know, like, after college, if you're not that guy who's going to the next level,
no doubt,
you get out and you have a degree and, you know, some sexy word, But what does it really mean? That means that you're not getting a job.
Exactly.
Like, because you go and you say, this is what my degree is.
Right.
And they were like, what is that? You know? And the free education thing, it's fallen by the wayside. It really
and
is.
The free, is it really free? I mean, there's a cost that comes with it. You don't have to pay for
Absolutely.
college necessarily, but it's not free. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate. You know, like, and I keep talking about like the Shabazz Napiers of the world, because like the guy that's like riding the bench, the 10th or 11th player on that bench, he doesn't have the same responsibilities that these dudes have. And it's tough for him too, but then it's double tough because now Shabazz, whether you like it or not, he's the face of that program. So he has to speak out when it's good, you know, Shabazz Napier. When it's bad, it's Shabazz Napier. So he's carrying the weight of, you know, 11 other guys, and none of them are doing good, but it's like you don't think about he's getting a college education. Well, let's say he wasn't getting let's say they had to pay their own college way, right? And like you just said, I leave college and I have student loans that I'm paying off for the next 30 years, and I'm making $60,000 a year. I'm just like, you know,
Right.
how are you supposed to live after that?
Right.
You know?
And that's the 10th man. That's the 11th man who's not on a full scholarship,
No doubt.
or redshirted
No
and
doubt.
got a spot on a team because he worked hard.
Definitely.
But somebody's paying for his college, either him, his parents,
Yeah.
you know, or maybe he gets a partial after year 2 or after his redshirt year or
Right.
something, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy.
It's good.
That's crazy stuff. Let's talk about this. I thought this was really cool. Soul Train is getting a Broadway show. It's in the works right now, and it's just exciting. It's not anything crazy, no drama here, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you feel about the Soul Train going on Broadway.
I'm excited. I think it's great. For me, it's a marriage of two worlds that I love. Once upon a time, you give me a hard time about this. I was a musical theater major.
Music major.
And I grew up going to Broadway shows all the time with my mom, so I love theater. Like anything, I'm open to seeing just about anything, whether it winds up being good or bad, whatever. I'm in it for the experience of going to the theater. I think it's great. And then I'm a huge hip hop, R&B, funk, soul, all that kind of music. So I think it's going to be cool. I think it's a tremendous undertaking. And I really hope that they pay homage in the right way. But the guy that's behind it, Matthew Weaver.
Matt Weaver, yeah.
Yeah, he's had a couple of other successful ventures into that world with Rock of Ages, and you were saying earlier Motown something.
Yeah.
So I'm not super familiar with his work, but hopefully he gets the right team behind him and does his thing. It's going to be a really interesting story to tell, because they've had, I mean, the number of legends that have passed through on that stage.
35 years worth.
35 years worth. Like, that's such a... I think the show in general was just a huge vehicle kind of for the cultural phenomenon that happened, where we became like a hip-hop nation, kind of. I mean, it's no longer just a black thing or like a minority thing. It's an everyone thing, not even just for America, but for the world at large. And that was a really big kind of part of how that happened. It brought
Soul
it into
Train line.
everyone's
Everybody knows what a
home.
soul. Everybody knows what a Soul
Yeah.
Train line is. Yeah, every wedding does it. You know, like, yeah, it was definitely a movement.
I think it's going to be awesome, and I will definitely be pre-ordering my tickets.
All right.
So, yes.
What do you think, Ralph? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. You know, I like it, one, because I mean it's Soul Train, you know, and like I said, now it's like a big, you know, it's part of pop culture in general, you know, all over the world. But growing up, you know, it's Saturday morning. That's what we did. We cleaned up and we watched Soul Train.
Yep.
And it's amazing how many, not just, you know, hip hop and R&B artists, but like just how many like mainstream artists, like early in the day, like when Don Cornelius first started, they were like, you know, a lot of you know, like black, white artists. It was all kind of artists on the show. And I mean, he broke a lot of acts. He created a lot of, you know, stars. And even like people like Gladys Knight helped him start it. So it's like they were like artist involvement. So I think that's why the show was so good. And like you said, the Soul Train line. I mean, come on, like you know, that's gonna outlive us all. You know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I can't wait to see what they do with it, because it's going to be a tremendous undertaking. Because I mean, it's so much to cover. it's like, what do you, and like, you know, I was a performance major and she's a theater major. The thing is, how do you encompass, like, how do you put that in a 2-hour play?
How do you do it?
It's so hard.
What is it going to be a 2-hour Soul Train live? like who? Like are you gonna go behind the scenes? Are they gonna tell us how the show was
Is it gonna
made?
be some
like,
video, some play?
You know,
it's
and then-
gonna be
There's
serious.
so
And then-
much material.
And then
to
what
cover.
artists are you gonna cover? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Who's gonna play Don Cornelius? That's what I want to know.
I know, that's what I mean.
Who's playing Stevie Wonder? You just
No,
said
Rock
earlier.
and roll.
Well, they went, you know, in the Motown show, Ryan Shaw, he plays Stevie Wonder in the Motown show, and I
Blues
think
guy.
they're saying,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think they're saying they're gonna bring, I had heard that he that he was auditioning to
Okay.
carry his character over into the Soul Train thing. And if you don't know Ryan Shaw, I'm not plugging him, but he's a really good dude. His music is really good, but then like his personality is like it comes through, and I think he would be dope for Soul Train. Like he would be good,
Okay.
you know. But it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see it. Like, 'cause I loved Motown. I liked Rock of Ages too. Honestly, you know, it's like music is
Music, musicians,
something.
instrumentation,
You can't beat
songwriting.
it. No,
yeah.
it changes your whole mood, your whole attitude in like just seconds, and you can't beat it. So
yeah.
That'd be really interesting if they brought on like some of the stars that are still around today. Like if Stevie Wonder did a little guest spot on. Not to say that he would regularly be doing
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but if that'd be kind of cool to
That'd be
see
crazy.
some of the stars that came out
Like a
to
cameo, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That'd be
Here
real
and
cool.
there.
All right, so we're gonna end on that. That's a good note to end on. Soul Train's coming to Broadway. Keep an eye out for it. It's gonna be good. We're all gonna be there. We're all gonna be there. All right, we have a few seconds left. We're gonna do our last segment. It's called Do You Care? It's a yes/no answer. You can explain if you have to. I'm just gonna hit a few things. Let's start with Soul Train on Broadway. Do you care,
Absolutely, I think that's quite clear.
Ralph?
I definitely can't wait.
All right. What about the NFL rules? You care about the NFL rules?
To a degree, I'm kind of. It's an interesting thing. I don't think it would be bad to class things up a little bit. Sometimes something as simple as a word or texting when you're in the car, there's no intentional malice behind it, but it can be a really damaging thing. It's kind of like a careless mistake. So I'm all for like New Year's resolutions and bettering yourself. Why not? Let's take it to the next level and hold yourself to a higher standard.
All right,
Sure.
Ralph. Rules.
The NFL, too many rules. They need to mind their business.
All right. Real quick to Frozen. How you feel about Frozen? You care about Frozen?
I'm a nanny, as you mentioned earlier. The kids that I watch are obsessed with it. They know
Let it
all
go.
of the. Oh,
Let
man.
it go.
But even, like everyone loves it, not just kids. It's great. The music is fantastic.
So, yes.
Yeah, it's
Ralph,
cool.
what about you?
It's not better than Rio.
I wouldn't say
So
it's my
no,
favorite.
so
The
no?
music is great though.
You don't care about Frozen?
I'm over it. I have
Yeah,
let it go.
I'm over it too.
I'll
I'm
let
over
it
it
go.
too. All right, hey guys, you can check us out Friday nights at 8 p.m. on Verizon 45, Cablevision 76, or you can check us out online at, you know what? The website's not up yet. So you can check us out on the street. If you see us, let us know what you think about the show. Let us know what kind of topics you want to hear, and we'll see you next week.
Attraction.